Let's talk about literally everything we know about Evil Dead Rise. Let's get into it.
What's your favorite scary movie? Hey man.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Well, I'm Pennywise the dancing now.
We're gonna get you. Oh, blood on the beast!
God, don't do that.
But sometimes dead is better.
Hey everybody, what's up? KillJoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we have a big ol' video talking about Evil Dead Rise, the next installment of the Evil Dead franchise, and just like my Five Nights at Freddy's video talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, this is gonna be a long one. Get into literally every little detail, every nook and cranny of what is Evil Dead Rise. So before I get into this, I just want to say, make sure to like this video and subscribe. This is one of those bigger videos that I spent a lot more time on, so if you could like this video, share it around, I would appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who watches my content. So getting into this, The Evil Dead Rise is the 5th installment in the Evil Dead franchise. Now, we had 4 movies and a television show that ran for 3 seasons, and in my opinion, it is all as close to flawless as you can possibly get. I love the Evil Dead franchise as a whole. It's easily the most perfect horror franchise that exists today. And I think a lot of people are scared about Evil Dead Rise because they're not necessarily sure if this one is going to be up to par with some of the other films here, because in my opinion, I know not necessarily everyone agrees with this, all 4 of the movies are masterpieces, and the TV show is maybe one of my favorite horror television shows of all time. There's really not a dead spot in any Evil Dead anything. It's all good, in my opinion. And you can't say that about really any other franchise. It's tough to say that. Like, even the Scream franchise, there's some seasons of that television show that aren't fantastic, and that is technically still a part of it. So I just don't think there's anything bad that's Evil Dead. Everything that has come out from this franchise, although not as much as some other franchises out there, it's all good. And I would much prefer that over like 12 movies where like the majority of them are good, but they're not all great, like the Friday the 13th franchise. So a little more talking about this, it's going to be directed by an up-and-coming director, Lee Cronin, which has a lot of people worried. This guy has only made one other movie, and yes, it was rated highly on Rotten Tomatoes, but most people haven't heard of it. We're going to talk about him a little later because I want to get through the plot description before I talk about him. I have some really positive things to say about the guy, though. Now, if you are worried about, like, well, where's Sam Raimi? Where's Bruce Campbell? They are a part of the project still, and Robert Tapert as well, serving as a producer. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell will be serving as executive producers. Now, no, Ash will not be back in this film. Bruce Campbell actually announced his retirement from the character a couple years ago, so no, I don't think we're going to be seeing any more Ash Williams anymore. But I think we can move on with this franchise without him, because there is, like, if you guys saw the remake, personally, I think it's a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10 flick. It's maybe my favorite Evil Dead movie, but it has some stiff competition. Like I said, I don't think there's a bad Evil Dead movie. I don't even think, like, some people might not like Army of Darkness, and I understand that, but personally, I think for what it is, it's a masterpiece. It's a really fun, hilarious, scary movie. It's a good time. So I really like all the Evil Dead movies, personally. I think they're all good. They all do something for this franchise that's completely wildly different from the last entry, which, in my opinion, is that's the best way to write a horror franchise, truly. And it's one of my favorites. I could not talk more about this. I could not talk more positively about this. But I will say the one negative thing I have to say about Evil Dead Rise is that it kind of has a weird background of how it came to be. So back in 2013, when they actually had the premiere of the Evil Dead remake, Fede Alvarez even announced that he was going to be working on a sequel momentarily, like right after this. They were already going to go to work on that. That never ended up happening. And also at the same time, Sam Raimi announced that he was going to work on an Army of Darkness 2, which was going to be the real Evil Dead 4. And both of these movies would converge into a 7th flick that merges both the stories of Ash Williams and Mia from the remake series. It was going to merge both those stories so that the Evil Dead remake wasn't just in its own universe. No, it's still a part of the Evil Dead franchise in some capacity, but that's probably never going to happen, which is pretty sad. And like, it's like, man, I really like the idea that of Evil Dead Rise. I'm very excited for this film, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but God, like, I don't want to say it's a missed opportunity, but I would love to live in that universe. I'm not gonna lie. There's a universe right now where there's 3 more Evil Dead films, and they converge the storylines. I kind of wish we had that. But at the same time, we wouldn't have the Don't Breathe movies, which Fede Alvarez wanted to focus a little more on. And to kind of summarize all the backstory about why Evil Dead 2 didn't happen was because he kind of wanted to focus on his own IP. No, it's not as big as Evil Dead, but that's not something he came up with. So yeah, like the remake's fantastic. And a lot of that is in due part because of Fede Alvarez and Rodo Sadeagas. But the Don't Breathe movies are also both fantastic, and I love both of them. I think they're really well done, really well executed films. So I'm glad they made the decision they did. But at the same time, I can see that kind of being a missed opportunity. I don't want to say that, but you know, there's a part of me that's like, I would love to have seen all three of those movies. I would have killed to have seen them. But we did get Ash vs. the Evil Dead, which, like I said, fantastic series. If you have not seen it, I could not recommend it more. It's my favorite horror television show of all time. Just 10 out of 10. There's not a dull moment. Typically in any show, there's like at least one season that's just like a little lesser than the rest. Like even Breaking Bad season 5 just isn't quite as good as like seasons like 1 through 4 in my opinion. But yeah, no, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, fantastic. Couldn't talk more positively about it. But getting into the plot description of Evil Dead Rise, it reads, a road-weary Beth pays an overdue visit to her older sister Ellie, who is raising 3 kids on her own in a cramped LA apartment. The sisters' reunion is cut short by the discovery of a mysterious book, I wonder what kind of book that could be, deep in the bowels of Ellie's building, giving rise to flesh-possessing demons and thrusting Beth, specifically Beth, remember that, into a primal battle for survival as she is faced with the most nightmarish version of motherhood imaginable. Okay, so there's a lot with that plot description we have to unpack. And it all kind of comes back to Lee Cronin, the writer and director of this film, who made a movie called The Hole in the Ground. See, I promised you, this is all gonna come back. So, Lee Cronin's The Hole in the Ground. No, I have not watched it, but I've read a lot of reviews about the film. And they specifically talk about how this movie, it has positive reviews, by the way, 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. This film specifically focuses on parental fears. It's a big topic in this movie that the reviews say it's not exactly the most original movie, but it's executed very well. It's terrifying. The sheer execution of it outweighs its unoriginality, I guess, is kind of how the reviews say. Look, 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'll take that. That's pretty positive. I have to watch the film for myself, but from what I've heard, this is a pretty dang good horror flick that's super underrated. And it's so underrated, Lee Cronin was even handpicked by Sam Raimi to write and direct the next installment of the Evil Dead franchise. Does this sound familiar? Because it's the exact same thing that happened with Fede Alvarez and Rodo Sadeagas back in like 2011 or 2012 when they were starting to produce and create the Evil Dead remake. It's the same story. And what did we get last time? One of my favorite horror flicks ever. So I think this movie's gonna be fantastic. A lot of people, like I said, have been expressing their concern about this film, and that's understandable. I mean, every Evil Dead franchise, like I said, is pretty dang good and up to par with every other movie in the franchise. There's not one where I'm like, that's a little lesser than the other. So I really think this movie's gonna be badass, and it's the same story as the last movie. So I really think this is gonna be a fantastic film. Now, to go off of that a little bit, though, we have this thing in the plot description where it talks about Beth and Ellie. It seems like Ellie is a little more like successful in life, if that makes sense. Like, yes, she is trying to raise 3 kids in a cramped LA apartment, but I can see this character of Beth being a little jealous. Maybe she doesn't have a significant other, and maybe she's kind of had to be on her own for a while. She's played by Alyssa Sutherland, who is 39 years old and kind of in that perfect age range of being like a character who feels like she missed out on getting like having a husband, getting married and having kids. She's in her late 30s. Like, that's scary. That's kind of like the last little moment of like, you have to decide to have kids now or it's never gonna happen. So I could see that being a struggle for Beth's character, and then to see her sister and her family all turn into Deadites, and then she has to kill all of them, is very reminiscent of the original Evil Dead and could be incredibly messed up if they go that route. Just a theory, but I'm kind of getting those feels from the plot description. It even ends with thrusting Beth into a primal battle for survival as she is faced with the most nightmarish version of motherhood imaginable. So this is probably going to be a theme if Lee Cronin's past has any indicator here. Moving on, though, another thing that a lot of people have expressed concern about is that the setting is completely different from the past films. Like, it's typically Evil Dead movies take place in a cabin in the woods, a very famous cabin in the woods that has been in like 3 of these movies pretty much, and like kind of an Army of Darkness. But this movie is going to take place in a high-rise apartment building in LA. Okay, listen, everyone hates this idea, but I think it fixes a massive Evil Dead problem. There's always, like, people in these movies are always trying to leave, but the bridge is all destroyed and all that. They couldn't just, they're in Tennessee. They couldn't just drive. There's not another road. Come on. This fixes a massive problem in the Evil Dead franchise, in my opinion. Let's say that for whatever reason, the spirits coming from the Necronomicon have destroyed the stairway to get down. And like maybe Ellie's apartment is up like really high up. Like she is all the way up there like on the 70th floor or something crazy like that. The stairway has been destroyed. The elevators are not working. And Beth is trapped at the very top of this tower with a bunch of deadites. That is horrifying. If that's the case, great idea. Oh my God, I want to see that film tomorrow. That sounds awesome. That's a great idea right there. And I think that might be why we have this high-rise apartment setting, is because it fixes that massive problem with the Evil Dead. It's something that I think has been a big criticism, especially of the first two movies, and like kind of the remake, which kind of does it a little differently if you've seen it with like the high waters, but it's still just like, really? Like they couldn't just try to leave a couple hours later or something, but whatever. It also kind of reminds me of a foreign film called Rec or Record. I call it Rec because like on the cover it just says REC, but it's a very similar concept to that, which Rec I think was even inspired a little bit by The Evil Dead. It's a zombie movie, but it's also kind of like they're not quite just zombies. It's almost like they're possessed. They're much closer to deadites than your typical toxic zombie. You might have no idea what I'm talking about. You might be like, what are those movies? I've never heard of those, Jake. You probably have heard of the American remake Quarantine, which is a remake that came out not even a year after the original Rec was a massive success at the box office. We made I hate to crap on Hollywood here, but I'm going to. They made a just horrible remake of this movie that is shot for shot, character for character. There's barely anything different about that film. I just don't see the point in making a movie like that. I really don't. Quarantine 2, yes, is different from where the sequels end up going, but just not the best movie. I think all four of the Rec movies are pretty dang good, contrary to popular opinion. I think they're all fun. The sequel's a bit too close to the original, I would say, but expands upon a lot of the things they set up in the original film. I like all four of the Rec movies. Side tangent over, let's get back on track here with Evil Dead Rise. So maybe you're still not convinced that Evil Dead Rise is going to be a good film. Well, there's a few more things that I want to talk about and why I just feel like this movie is going to be another fantastic entry in the Evil Dead franchise. So principal photography took place in New Zealand from June 6th to October 27th. They spent a long time filming this thing, which for the most part is a good indicator. It makes you think like, okay, they took a lot of time on this to make it right. They did shots probably multiple times to get things perfect. And Lee Cronin even revealed in a tweet that they used over 6,500 liters of fake blood. That could not excite me anymore, honestly. That's a lot of blood. That's not, like, if you don't know liters, that's a lot of blood. That's a shining amount of blood coming out of the elevator if you're unaware. So I really think that bodes very well. Another thing that's really positive about this film, more people coming back from the past Evil Dead installments. Dave Garbet served as the cinematographer. He was previously served as a cinematographer on several episodes of Ash vs. the Evil Dead. So once again, we have more people coming back from the Evil Dead family to work on this film. It's gonna feel like an Evil Dead movie. It's not just going to be another film with deadites in it, which I'm sure some people are worried about, but I'm not worried about that at all. I really think that this movie is going to be another Evil Dead movie. It's going to be a lot of fun, but here's the stinger. It's going to be released on HBO Max straight to streaming sometime this year. We don't have a release date yet, which another thing that concerns people, a lot of people just saw the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and we had a lot of weird things happen with that film. Between the directors being fired and hiring David Blue Garcia for the latest Texas Chainsaw, and also it went straight to Netflix because they didn't have confidence in just putting it in theaters. I can see being concerned about this film because of that, but HBO Max, honestly, a lot of their originals are pretty good, and I could see this film still being good even though it's going straight to streaming. Even same scenario with the new Hellraiser movie. I'm very excited for that as well. I think it's going to be good. So I can see people being concerned about this film, but genuinely, I think that a lot of love and care went into this movie from Lee Cronin, especially this up-and-comer. This is a guy who hasn't really established a name for himself in the horror genre. I'm much more excited to see movies movies from up-and-coming horror directors, like the second or third movie from somebody, because they want it bad. They want that success. They're going to put their heart and soul into this. A new Sam Raimi flick would probably be awesome. I would love to see a new Sam Raimi horror movie, which I guess we're kind of going to see in the new Doctor Strange. There's gonna be zombies in it, apparently, which is cool. I don't know if you guys are fans of Marvel or Marvel zombies, but I'm excited. Regardless, I'm excited for it. But if Sam Raimi was to make a new horror flick, if he announced that yet tomorrow, yeah, I would be excited for it. But there's a part of me that I think is a little more excited for up-and-coming directors to make their own original thing, because it's like they want that status of being a big horror movie director. And more times than not, today with modern horror directors that are up-and-coming and have made promising things in the past, you're gonna get something that's really, really well done. Hereditary, Midsummer, Chloe Okuno's Watchers that's coming out real soon. She was the director of one of the skits in VHS 94 and also in the short film Sluts, which is both of those things fantastic. I can't wait to see what she does with an entire 90-minute long movie starring the girl from It Follows. Oh my god, I'm so excited about that. I love Chloe Okuno. I don't know if I've said that enough times on this page, but I don't think I can say that enough times. I'm really excited to see what Lee Cronin does with the Evil Dead franchise. I really think this is going to be something special, and I can't wait to see it sometime this year. Give us a release date, Lee. The movie's done, apparently. So come on. We're dying here. I want to see the 5th Evil Dead movie. Let's go. I'm excited. But what do you guys think about Evil Dead 5, Evil Dead Rise, whatever the heck you want to call this thing? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you so much to everyone who stayed and watched this entire super long video where I basically just pour my heart and soul out into the Evil Dead franchise about how much I love it. I don't get to talk about it that much on this page, so this is kind of my one opportunity to do that. Thank you so much for watching again. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Also, please consider supporting me on Patreon. If you want to see this channel grow, the link for that is in the description below. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.